Y'all know what I'm learning. And I know it's dark, but y'all get the message. It's all good. Y'all know what I'm learning. As I'm watching Home Alone 1. As my allergies is making me all stuffy. Y'all, I hate allergies, man. At any moment, they can spark off. But y'all know what I'm learning. Is you don't want to be caught hearing something that is positive, healthy, something that should help you, something that can benefit you, but yet you're focused on is somebody else getting the message. That's where we go wrong sometimes. Is especially, I see this a lot with, relationship advice that is given, and from my own, well, I see this a lot from relationship advice that is given, and like, say if somebody is telling me, what they think or what have you, or they're telling me a story, I see this narrative a lot. And then especially when I'm like counseling, couples, married couples and things like that, I notice that the individual is always focused on, hypothetically, well, did you tell him that? Or did you tell her that? Well, if he would do this and this and that, I would be able to do this and this and that. Well, if she would learn how to do this and this and that, then I would be better at doing this and this and that. Now, we obviously know that as individuals who is in any type of relationship, it takes two people. We should be mature enough to fully understand that. We should also be mature enough to fully understand that that individual is not solely 100% responsible for another person's actions or lack thereof. And so I find, and I've counseled hundreds of couples, I find that especially in, the beginning, once they kind of get through a lot of the work, then they start to open up their eyes and look differently and view things differently, which is good. And like I said, even though what you could be saying is valid and or truthful, meaning, okay, well, he wasn't paying enough attention to me, so therefore that caused me to feel insecure or rejected. That could very well be true, but the sole responsibility of you not feeling rejected or insecure is you have to be secure within yourself. You should not be putting the sole responsibility of who you are as a person, meaning your emotions, your feelings, your financial stability, right? All the categories that we utilize to live life, that should not be in the hands of one person. Granted, we know that there's things that can change those concepts, meaning you could fall ill, you can go into the hospital, you can go into a coma, you can, there's so many different things that can happen where it could require a person to help you more often than not. But even in that, even if you're in the hospital, you're still helping yourself to a certain degree because that person can't heal you. The doctor can repair you, perform the surgery, give you medication, but it's still up to you, unless it's like a crazy, egregious act where, God forbid somebody's in a coma or what have you. But you're still fighting, so you're still responsible for you. It's not too often where who we are, except for when we are newborn babies. And even then, think about it, when a baby's born, it's that baby's job to turn their head towards the bottom of the mother's vagina so that it can come out. Even a baby still has a level of responsibility for themselves. It's not solely on the mother. The mother and the baby has to work together. And so we have to get out of putting everything about who we are in someone else's hands. And here's why. As great as it may feel, we are flawed individuals. Guess what? As dynamic of a mother I think I am, I teach my son, Be proud of yourself. Love yourself. Encourage yourself. Because if I handicap him to think that his accolades is only going to come from me, his love is only going to come from me. If I only teach him that one way, that means he's going to think that love only looks one way, right? That's handicapping him. If I only teach him to feel good about only when I tell him good job, he's going to live his life thinking that if it doesn't come from me, he's not doing a good job, or it's not going to be as effective as if it's coming from other people. No, the most important thing is he has to know he's doing a good job. He has to learn to love himself. He has to encourage himself. He has to correct himself. And so I find so often, so many couples, let me tell you something. Kevin in this Home Alone, when I tell you this dude is off the chain, Home Alone is one of my favorite Christmas movies along with several others. But I watch Home Alone every year. Home Alone and then Home Alone Lost in New York. Dude, it's funny. He roasted his mama. But we have to understand that, because what happens is the enemy will trick you into thinking that everything is going wrong because of this person. And therefore what happens is we lack our own accountability. We're not talking about no crazy acts where, somebody's getting abused and you should be like, well, take accountability for getting hit. Y'all, we're not talking about nothing crazy. We talking about sound-minded things. If you only feel loved when your partner loves you, that's a problem. If you only feel validated when your partner validates you, that's a problem. If you only feel encouraged when your partner encourages you, that's a problem. If you only feel supported when your partner supports you, that's a problem. Why? Because we're flawed human beings, and that is not something that a human being can do on a 10 out of 10 perfect basis. You know why? Because they got issues, they got traumas, they got triggers. Not even just that. Guess what? We get sleepy. We got jobs. We have kids. It's all kinds of things that play into that. I know y'all want this fantasy type of love that y'all watching the movies, and y'all want the Hallmark type of love, and y'all want the Cinderella, stories and all of that. I get it. But all of that is false. You have to create love within the dynamic of your relationship. You have to communicate those things. Even when things are not going well, you have to still communicate. What can we do? How can we be better? We should always be on this pendulum of growth, not perfection. I say to people all the time, it's only two perfect people that we know of, Jesus and Job. So therefore, if I'm a human being, I know that I cannot be perfect in a relationship. I know that there's going to be times where I miss the mark, where I'm not going to recognize, oh, I should be supportive in this area, whether it's verbally, whether it's my presence. It don't even have to be because it's malicious. I may have something else to do too, but that person really may desire my support in this moment, but I really have to get done or be where I need to be. But then it's my job to still take accountability for verbalizing and communicating. This is what I have to do, sending something to make them feel important, to make them feel thought of, to let them know I'm thinking about you on your big day, or whatever the case may be. But we have to stop. I see couples do this all the time. I'll be counseling them. We'll do individual sessions and we'll do group sessions together. Half of the sessions they talking about what the other person is doing. And again, we do understand that some of those things can be okay to a degree, but we have to start being focused on, if this other person doesn't ever do X, Y, Z, can you still be okay? Can you still be healthy? Can you still be whole? Or is every part of your existence relying on this individual's actions, this individual's words, their reactions, what they're doing, what they're not doing? Because we'll get caught up like that. We'll miss the mark ourselves. We'll miss the message ourselves. We too busy trying to be so desperate to get somebody to love us. We trying to get men to love us. Men trying to force women to love us. That we just falling apart. Again, I have to listen to certain things because I have to understand the pulse of the culture from all different dynamics. Sometimes I listen to some of these podcasts just to figure out what's being pushed out there so I can have a better understanding when I talk to people. And I hear so many, let me not say so many because I don't be listening to that many, but, I hear certain men, they bashing women, they telling women, this what you need to be doing to keep a man. And if you ain't doing this and we ain't doing that and we high value men and da-da-da-da. And then I'm sitting there thinking, They asking for a whole bunch of stuff that they not even doing. Then you have women saying, I'm so tired of men doing this and da 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 da. Okay, but you just work on yourself. If you're not in the season of dating, stop spreading negative energy and pinning men against women and women against men and all this other stuff. Then work on yourself. Stop being so thirsty to get into a relationship. Stop being so thirsty to where we settling for anything. And then when the man or the woman does not turn out to be what we want, now we want to bash and now we want to be like, we so hurt. I'm tired of these broken relationships. Men ain't nothing. Women ain't nothing. All they do is cheat. All they do is lie and steal. And all the women want to do is take your money and da whatever narrative is being painted. If you're not ready to be in a relationship, sit down and work on yourself. Stop trying to, and different qualities look different for different genders. So this is not one about bashing one or the other. This is about recognizing where you are. Work on yourself. Stop being so thirsty for a relationship. Men, I was listening to something the other day, and it was these two gentlemen talking, and the older gentleman, well, they were both kind of sort of around the same age. I think the older gentleman probably was like 6 or 7 years older than the other guy. And so the younger guy, if you will, was like, I guess they were talking about men having female friends and da 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 da. And he was like, the younger guy was like, I don't see what's wrong with having female friends. He was like, hey, as long as I'm upfront with him and I'm letting him know where I'm at, I don't want no relationship and da da da. And the older guy said, yeah, but you're doing relationship things. He said, why? He said, if you know the way women can be, why would you open up that emotional door if you're not ready to tend to it? You can tell a woman all day long, hey, I'm putting it out there. This is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a relationship. I just want to be friends with benefits, come over, have sex, do what I do. We leave. He like, yeah, but you texting her good morning. You asking her what she doing. You taking her out to dinner. You kicking it. And the young guy was like, yeah, but I already told her. But the man was saying, yeah, but that's immature on your part because you should have an understanding of how a woman's emotions work and human emotions regardless. You could start off thinking, yeah, it's all good. Da, da, da. You don't know that at some point somebody can catch up feelings. He says, so why are you even doing all of that if you have no intentions of tending to her emotional needs? Because she may then begin to fall for you because you halfway doing boyfriend stuff. Good morning, beautiful. Have a good night. And he was like, okay, but even if I don't call her stuff every day, he said, yeah, but sometimes I like to go hang out, go get dinner. He like, but why are you doing all of that? When you're creating an intimate space, you're creating for us to get to know each other. Even from a friendship, do you know you can still build an emotional connection and a connection of wanting something more, if you will, even just based off of friends. And now you're tying sex into it. What do you think is going to eventually happen? Whether it happens in 6 months, a year, or 2 years. And he was like, well, and he like, yeah, but that's because you being selfish because you just want to go sleep with a woman. You want to have the woman around for your convenience and you want to avoid commitment. You want to avoid accountability and responsibility to that person. So he said, man, I had to learn the hard way. He said, I don't do stuff like that no more. He said, I don't care if I make it crystal clear to the woman. I understand that after me being on earth long enough and dealing with enough women, he said, and guess what? Men can do that too, because you have some women that's like, no, I'm not trying to, be in a relationship or nothing like that. And da da da. And he said, men can have the same situation where their feelings begin to get involved. He was like, so I'm learning. Y'all gotta forgive me because, boy, I'm stuffy because my allergies. My goodness. But he was like, we just have to be better as respecting one another as humans. But because we're so selfish, we're so driven by what we want, what we need. And we make excuses like, well, I told him what it was, so it ain't my fault they caught feelings. He like, but why you texting her? Why you calling her every day? Why you sitting on the phone chopping it up with her, asking about her day? Why you saying, hey, let's go bowling, let's go do this, let's go hang out? He like, yeah, you know what you're doing. Because you should know that at some point you cannot, if you cannot guarantee that this woman cannot catch feelings, why are you doing all of that? And he was like, well, you know what, that do make sense and da-da-da. But you know what's so funny? He gonna hear all of that information and still make the selfish decision. Because that's just what we do as humans. And so, I just said that to give just like an example of a story of like, we have to just be more responsible with how we function, how we are treating the other partner, the other species. We could just be so reckless at times because we're selfish, we're broken, we're full of trauma, you know. And this isn't even just in the dating world. This is even in marriages. Like I said, I counsel so many spouses, and I counsel so many couples, and the spouses are so concerned about, well, I don't understand why he don't do this and why he don't do that. So then when I try to say, okay, so tell me some of the things that you need to work on, right? So they'll list things that they need to work on. And I say, so then why, respectfully, I'm always respectful. I say, so why you not working on it? Well, da da da. So then how are you demanding this other person to work on something that you have things you need to work on? So therefore, we need to find a healthy balance of grace. Again, we're not talking about crazy stuff. But, people are so quick to point out, well, if the men just do what they're supposed to do, women wouldn't be the way they are. Then you have men saying, well, if the woman just do what she's supposed to do, men wouldn't be doing da 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 da. No, we need to have self accountability. We need to stop blaming one another. Watch this. Even if you pointing out what they're doing is valid, even if they not cleaning up, cooking, paying the bills, da 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 da. Well, now the question becomes, take the responsibility off of them. And if it takes two people, right? We understand that at times it's not going to be two people all the time, but some of y'all be dealing with people and they ain't changed and made no efforts in 6 months, a year. They not even showing you no type of progress, and you stuck in an unhealthy relationship. So now, here's a side note to validate what I'm getting ready to say. I was talking to an individual and I was counseling her, and she was saying, he does this and he does that and he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that and he's a narcissist and he's this and he's that and da da da. And I said, okay, so now that you know all those things about him, let's just say all of those things are true because I don't know him. But let's just say we're going off of exactly what you're saying. Now, the question I want to pose to you is, we know what he's doing. You've pegged him down to the T. Now, the question becomes, I said, so now we don't have to analyze what he's doing. We already know. We already know why he's not going to be better. The question now becomes, why do you keep subjecting yourself to a person that you have down to the T of what he's not going to do? So if he never changes and he remains the narcissist, because y'all, we like to throw that word around. He remains the narcissist that you proclaim him to be. He remains inconsiderate. He lacks emotional intelligence, right? Because we throw all of these words around. I said, so if you're saying this is who he is and this is who he's been for the longest, why do you keep staying with him? And of course, I never promote for somebody to leave, stay, or go, because at the end of the day, a person has to make their own decision. I'm just here to bring light, shed light to certain situations. And she was like, well, it's because I care about him. I said, so would it be safe to say that you now have to stop blaming him for his actions? Okay, so if you want to care about him, now you understand what you're getting into. So which one is it? Do you want to be better and healthy and stop feeling this way because now you're suicidal and et cetera, et cetera? Do you want to now focus on your well-being, how to love yourself, how to build up your self-esteem? Or do you want to stay in the position that you're in, already understand what you're going to get, and then say, well, because I care about him and I love him so much? Can't have it both ways. I said, and if he is not showing any signs of wanting to be different or wanting to alter, you can't have it both ways. So you already know what you're going to get if you stay in this situation, according to what you said. But see, as humans, we feel validated by saying what the other person is doing. And we'll peg them. They don't listen. They liars. They cheaters. They this. They don't have pay bills and da 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 da. Okay, well, we know that. So what are you doing to change you, to alter you? To either realize this is not a good situation and I realize that I don't love myself enough because I keep subjecting myself to all these things that you're saying that this person is doing. I've had men do the same thing. I was just giving an example about a woman saying something about a man. I have men calling do the same thing. She just doesn't do this and da da da, and I'm sick of it and blah blah blah. And I try to tell her this, and she stays out all night. I saw something in her phone and da da da. Okay, so now that you know that she's all that, you just ran her all the way down to me. Let's work on you and your self-esteem and your rejection and your toxic bond, your trauma bond, whatever it may be. And then when I begin to start talking to them about them, in the beginning, they get offended. Well, and then the young lady said, well, if he just apologizes, I said, so do you really truly think that him apologizing for all of his characteristics and all the things he's done and put you through, you think that all you need to hear is sorry? I said, you're sadly mistaken. I said, because he could give you the best apology in the world, and it's still not going to make you, it's not going to change how you feel. It's not going to change that you feel rejected. It's more than just, I'm sorry. A sorry could be a starting point. But what if he just said, I'm sorry, he remained the same? Would that make you better? Well, no, because he obviously needs to da-da-da. Okay, well. So, y'all, we got to be careful with that. We got to be careful trying to run down what the other person should be doing. We got to be careful trying to blame the other person. We got to be careful only pointing out what they're doing, because you'll miss the message. Love y'all. We'll talk soon.